Let's look at the scoping phase in a little more detail. Scoping is an early and open comment process. Requests for information usually have a brief project description. They seek specific information about the project and its possible impacts. The information gathered during scoping is used to identify issues, concerns, and opportunities. Issues drive alternatives. If an issue is not identified during scoping, it does not need to be addressed in the NEPA process. Now, what do you need to do as an enthusiast? Be involved and provide the information requested. If recreational or public use that you think will be affected is an issue, then make sure it's brought to their attention. If you believe your group would benefit by getting more information, ask for a presentation to your group. The purpose and need statement establishes the direction and sideboards of the analysis. Anything outside the purpose and need statement does not have to be considered during the analysis. For example, if the purpose and need says to review a trail system to reduce impacts to water quality, they would not need to consider adding a new trail, unless it would reduce the impact on water quality. The statement must be specific. It should present information on who, what, when, and where. The statement should answer the question, why are we considering this action? As an enthusiast, you need to review the purpose and need statement carefully to make sure it will support development of a quality trail system. In the next step of the process, the agency identifies options that can accomplish the intent of the purpose and need statement. They must evaluate reasonable alternatives and explain their reasons for eliminating others. As members of the public, we should emphasize the need for a full range of alternatives. They must fully evaluate alternatives considered in detail. These can include ones which may be outside agency jurisdiction. For example, if a trail connecting to a community goes outside the agency boundary, they can consider and adopt that alternative. However, they may limit implementation until the community can make the connection to the agency boundary. The Forest Service can include a no action and a preferred alternative. Reasonable alternatives must meet the purpose and need and address one or more of the significant issues. This is why it's important to review and comment on the purpose and need statement and provide comments during scoping. This is your opportunity to identify issues you feel need to be addressed. After reviewing the agency alternatives, it may be beneficial for an enthusiast group to consider developing its own alternative. But remember, they must comply with the purpose and need and address one or more issues. Once the range of alternatives is developed, it falls to the agency to evaluate the impacts of each one, both positive and negative. Field specialists gather data, conduct required surveys, and evaluate information. They analyze the effects of various alternatives. They develop findings and recommendations. This information is then presented to the decision makers for their use in the decision process. As enthusiasts, we will not have much involvement in this part of the process. However, we can offer to help work with specialists to collect information. This way, we may be able to better understand their concerns, so we can suggest an alternative that will address their concerns and meet our objectives as well. Once the analysis is completed and the document is drafted, it will be released for review and comment. This is a critical step because by providing comments, we may have an opportunity to influence the final decision. The first chance to review this is at the release of a draft EIS. Comments are reviewed and answers are developed. They may change the document or decision, or they may explain why they are not making changes. After comment evaluation, they'll release a final EIS and a record of decision. For an EA, the analysis is released for a 30-day review and comment period before a decision is made. Comment should be based on a review of the information in the document and should also address information submitted earlier in the process. Enthusiasts must review the document and provide comments to have any hope of influencing the decision. We may accomplish two things with our comments. The first, and by far the best outcome, is to influence the decision in such a manner that it meets our objectives. The second thing we can accomplish with comments is to put hooks in the process, on which we can later hang appeals and litigation. Whenever we're trying to influence or change a decision, we have to realize that all decision makers have limits on what they can do. This decision space is basically a box with four sides. You have differing levels of influence that may affect where the sides of the box end up. In some cases, you may be able to move the sides of the box. The first limiting factor is the capability of the land to support the proposed use. No manager has the authority to exceed the capability of the land. However, there are things that can be done to either improve the capability of the land or reduce the effects of the use. For example, if you need a trail to cross a wet meadow or boggy area, the land may not be able to support a simple trail. But you can add a structure like a boardwalk or bridge to reduce the impacts. A second example would be the influence of visitor behavior. If the trails are sustainable and riders stay on the trails, the number of visitors that can be accommodated will be much greater than if the riders travel off the trails from time to time. Improved visitor behavior will increase the capacity of the land to support the use. The laws, regulations, and policies control the next side of the decision space. We cannot expect, nor should we ask, any manager to violate any law or regulation. Some policies may be a little more flexible. Whether we agree with the law or not, it's what it is, and it must be followed. Laws and regulations may be changed over time, but the process is long and time-consuming. That doesn't mean that we should not try to influence their content when we have the opportunity. But it's not prudent to spend all of our time trying to change the laws, since there may be ways to get quality trails within the legal and regulatory constraints. The public opinion side of the decision box is a little easier to move. We all know that anti-access groups constantly try to influence public opinion of OHV recreation by emphasizing the negative aspects of the activity whenever they can. Whether it be noise, tracks on the ground, or results of inappropriate use, they try to make it headline material. Riders must be just as active promoting the positive and reducing the negative aspects of the activity. We must work to keep the noise down and reduce the inappropriate use by our club members and unorganized riders. In addition, we need to be constantly working to improve community relations and to get positive messages in front of the public. Riders can also influence the political side of the decision space. Involvement in the electoral process at the federal, state, or local level can improve access to your elected legislators. It is not that some senator or congressman is going to tell a district ranger what trails to open, but their involvement can ensure that a range of possible actions are considered. If you've been involved in the process and have been successful in influencing the decision, then ride and have fun. But stay involved. There will be many changes to the route designations that are made. Some of the changes can be for the good, and some may not. The key is to remain vigilant. If you were involved but were not successful, you have the option to appeal the decision. If you were involved and made comments. If it fails to address your comments. If decisions are not supported by facts. And if the agency failed to follow the process. Remember, without an appeal, all options to litigate in court are eliminated. Appeals and litigation are a last resort. They take a lot of time and a lot of money, but may be necessary to get a quality trail system. Get involved early, comment often, and build up resources for possible future challenges. And above all, stay in the process until the end. If we all take part, we will make a positive difference for off-highway riding enthusiasts everywhere.